The mother threw her kids in the forest, but what the dog did was amazing. This stepmother hated her future husband's kids and concocted a scary plan to get rid of them. She left them in the forest full of hungry dogs, but she hadn't factored in their guardian angel. Matthew and Helen were blessed with the sweetest pair of twins a couple could ask for. Both Jessica and Finn were the lights in their lives. Helen absolutely adored her babies and gave them everything they ever needed or wanted. Matthew, who loved them all just as much, made sure that they were provided for in every way possible. Through lots of hard work and sweat, he was able to build a successful farm ranch from scratch. This allowed him to progress from the meager poor kid that he was when he first met Helen to this wealthy man who never left his family wanting anything. His life was perfect in every way. He thought it couldn't get any better and wasn't prepared for it to all crumble before his eyes. When the children were just about 8 years old, Helen fell awfully ill. It didn't matter what Matthew did, what specialists he called, or what medicine he sourced, she just got sicker and sicker until one day she just didn't wake up. Matthew's entire world shattered in an instant. He could hardly pick up the pieces to run his farm, never mind care for his mourning children. The loss of their mother hit them quite hard. Finn began to run away into the forest any chance he got, and Jessica simply hid in her room. They didn't know how to cope with the pain, and neither did their father. Luckily for Matthew, the local village near their farm was full of the kindest people he had ever come across, and they offered all sorts of support. Some of the elderly women even came to the house every day to check on the children and help around the house. They understood that the home needed a woman's touch. After all, Helen had been the homemaker and primary caregiver for both children. When Matthew saw an improvement in the children after the time they spent with the elderly ladies, he concocted a plan. He figured that even though he was mourning his beloved wife, he would need to move on soon. It was his belief that finding a new partner would help his children settle. This particular decision was fueled by a crazy thing Finn did one day. It was an ordinary day in their household. Matthew was home eating lunch and Jessica was hiding in her room. Finn suddenly arrived home with a bundle in his arms and proudly showed his father the newest member of the family. Much to Matthew's distaste, huddled in the bundle was a puppy. Finn was overjoyed with his new best friend. However, Matthew was not impressed. He felt he could barely look after the children, never mind another young living being. But despite many protests, Finn stayed defiant. It was times like this that Matthew really missed his wife. She would have known how to get through to him. That's when he thought perhaps getting another motherly figure would help. Finn and Jessica remember the day as clearly as if it were just an hour before. They were playing outside with their puppy Kai when a vehicle pulled up. A beautiful woman stepped out and asked about their father. The children happily showed her the way, unaware of the fact that she was to be their new mother. Natalie was nothing like she seemed to be. Matthew saw a beautiful young and modern woman who loved children. He'd met her while in town on business. They'd struck up a conversation, and upon learning that Matthew was a wealthy farmer, Natalie had sunk her claws into him. According to Natalie, children were amazing creatures, and a house was not a home without a mother. No man should have to cook for his family, all of which was simply music to Matthew's ears. He couldn't believe how lucky he'd been to stumble upon someone like her. In reality, though, the children quickly learned that she was nothing like what she seemed. At first, they were both in love with her. She seemed so sweet and caring. Whenever possible, she would go out of her way to make them feel loved, whether it was bedtime stories at night or delicious snacks after they'd been playing outside all day. It was almost too good to be true, and so it was. It didn't take long before they saw her true colors. All it took was a marriage proposal, and things began to change very quickly. The minute after the date was set for the wedding, Natalie revealed her true colors to Jessica and Finn. She would scream and chase them around the house, throwing things at their heads. If they left the house during the day, she would lock them out and refuse to give them lunch. She even tied Kai up to a tree outside and left him in the rain. Because Matthew wasn't around much, he never really got to see what was going on, and when he was around, Natalie was on her best behavior. So when the children approached their father and explained what she had been doing, he didn't believe them for a second. He simply thought they were trying to interfere with his relationship because they were jealous. He had no idea what was coming. One day, Jessica and Finn were trying to get some food out of the kitchen when they heard Natalie approaching. They quickly hid in the cupboard, but that's when they heard something horrid. Natalie was on the phone talking to someone. From what they could hear, it sounded like she was talking about hurting their dad. She wanted all his money. Before Finn could stop Jessica, she ran out of the cupboard and began screaming at Natalie about what she'd heard. Natalie was surprised, of course, but it didn't take her long to react. She grabbed them both by the hems of their shirts and locked them in the trunk of her car. She was tired of having to deal with the twins who kept meddling in her plans. She knew she had to get rid of them and knew just the right way to do it. Jessica and Finn screamed for hours, but no one came to free them. Exhausted and terrified, they slowly drifted off and didn't hear the car start. When the children woke up, they were so confused as to where they were. Looking around, all they saw was a dark forest. This was a part of the forest where they were forbidden to go because it was dog territory. They pieced together what they remembered and came to the conclusion that Natalie had dumped them there in an effort to get rid of them. They had no idea what to do, and things got worse pretty soon. Before they could come up with a plan, they began to see movement in the tree line around them. Slowly creeping out of the bushes came emaciated dogs. Their teeth were bared and they were snarling viciously. The drool just dripped out of their mouths. Finn flung himself in front of his sister and shouted at the top of his lungs to try and scare the dogs. But of course this did nothing, so he simply braced himself for the attack, hoping he could save his sister in some way. But as the dogs lunged forward, another body appeared between them. The impossible had happened. Kai had followed them into the forest and was now wedged between the twins and the pack of dogs. Next to them, Finn saw for the first time that Kai wasn't a dog after all, but a wolf, and here he was defending them. The dogs scampered away cowardly after a few snaps from him. Then he helped guide the children back to their home. It took over an hour before they saw their house on the hill. When they got home, they were met by their distraught father and a very surprised stepmother. They didn't waste a second before telling their father the story. When Matthew had come home to find his beloved twins missing, he had been shocked back into his old self. So when his children returned, he listened to every word they said. He turned on Natalie and kicked her out, calling off the engagement. He was so mad that it took his children almost dying for him to see the truth. But he was grateful that he had them back safe and sound, and he vowed to keep them that way. This time, though, he wouldn't look for a new wife because he knew that Kai would protect his twins from all kinds of danger. What a scary tale. Would you trust your new spouse over your children? How would you react if someone did this to your kids? In the perilous forest, there are traces of wild animals everywhere. The kids' father, Antoine Miller, is said to be heartbroken after his wife murdered them while he was out watching American football playoffs with friends. A North Carolina woman who liked to post videos of her children performing on YouTube fatally injured her son and daughter and then killed herself by jumping off a bridge, police said. After 34-year-old Christina Treadway's suicide on Saturday, police found Isaiah Miller, 7, and Eliam Miller, 3, with life-threatening injuries at their home, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department and Charlotte Media said. They later died at hospital, police said. The mother posted numerous cute and loving videos of her children online, including one in which Ilya sings a song she wrote called Mommy, I Love You. I always trust you, the little girl sings in one post under the mother's handle Tina Latina. In others, the children cover hits with Ilya singing Cyndi Lauper's True Colors and Isaiah taking on All of Me by John Legend. Ilya also dances to Rihanna's Love on the Brain. In another video, the two siblings, then aged 6 and 2, identified each other as best friends and said they wanted to be police officers when they grew up. Interviewed by an unidentified woman off camera, the children are asked what they would do with $1 million. Isaiah said he would buy a mansion and a car. Ilya said she wants a squirt gun. I'm going to show you this when you're like 30, the woman says. The kid's father, Antoine Miller, is said to be heartbroken now. Miller created a page on the GoFundMe website and as of Monday has raised $6 of $10,000 gold to send my babies to their resting place. My heart is broken, my world came crumbling down, Miller wrote on the site. My children's mother decided to end her life and end my two beautiful kids' lives. I am beyond hurt and sad. The children's paternal grandfather, speaking to WBTV television, described Isaiah as the smartest kid I've ever met, and Aaliyah as a singer who could carry a note like a 20-year-old. It's something that's going to take a long time to get over if we ever do get over it, the grandfather Gregory Moore told WBTV. She texted him saying that she loved him, she's sorry, and she's going to end it all in the kids, Moore said. I'm not a crier, but I cried every 5 minutes. I just break down and cry. In this story, we not only see the delicate feelings of animals, but also let us understand that trust can be established between humans and animals even without any language. Love will also exist between each other, transferred through the heart.